I've heard you talk about starting in stand-up early and not having a good run of it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Man, you can never have a good run of comedy when your name is Tasty Tony.
Oh, was that your name?
Tasty Tony, the one and only. If there's another, he's a phony. Yeah.
That sounds like a Boondocks character.
Man.
Oh my God. Sound like a smooth poet.
Yeah. Wow. Regency West, the Comedy Act Theater, man. All of the greats had gone through there. And I was like, yo, everybody was like, yo, funny, you should get on stage. And I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, I never saw myself being a stand-up comic. You know, I'm a comedic actor. I'm an actor. And I just happen to be funny. And I was like, okay, well, let me go do this. So I went to the Comedy Act Theater, man, and I had my whole support team with me one day. And there were too many people on the list before me. And so I didn't get called to do open mic.
Oh.
So the next week I went. Nobody could make it. But I was like, that's cool. I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for me. And the first two comics, and I got there extra early, the first two comics that got up ahead of me were horrible. And I heckled them.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Oh
I did.
God.
And I was fucking hysterical as a heckler. You know, and they just happened to call my name next as I got my biggest laugh as a heckler.
Right, so, okay.
And nobody
That's
knew
the
who I
setup.
was. Yeah,
Right.
nobody knew who I was. They were like, Tasty Tony. Nobody knew who the fuck Tasty Tony was. And I was, you know, I was caught, you know, at the fork of the road. I was like, do I get up now? Or do I just sit here and just, you know, bask in this laughter at somebody else's expense? And I was like, no, you came here to tell jokes. So get up and tell your jokes and face the music. And so when I got up and everybody saw that it was me, there's nothing worse than being ridiculed and heckled and talked about than having that done to you in a room full of comedians. And as I walked,
Yeah, I've seen that happen.
you know, as
We
I
were in that room.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What's that?
Oh,
There was some
Someone
me and her
didn't
was,
do so well.
Yeah, we was in a room, like a private room.
Yeah.
And it was bad.
Yeah.
No, it was like dead man walking for me.
Damn.
But I was willing to face that because I was like, all right, let me get up here and do this. And I got on the stage and everybody in there was throwing darts and daggers at me and talking about my mama, talking about me, talking about my fade, talking about this, and I couldn't get through anything.
Dang.
So literally 15 seconds, if that, they shut my mic off.
Oh no.
The house just shut my mic off because they knew I wasn't gonna be able to.
They had
They
an
were
open
saving
mic,
me.
though?
Yeah, they were saving me the embarrassment.
Wow.
So they shut my mic off, and so I threw the mic down. I was like, I don't need a fucking mic. And then so I was going. 5 seconds later, they shut the light off.
No.
So I'm just standing there in darkness as everybody is shitting on me, but rightfully so.
Right, you earned that.
Yeah,
You earned that.
and so my first time touching a mic on stage, I was on stage maybe 20 seconds and I left, and I had never failed at anything in my craft like that before. So I went to the bathroom and I was shaking uncontrollably. And Guy Torry came into the bathroom.
Shout out to Guy Torry.
Yeah, and I had no idea who Guy Torry was. And he was like, hey, man, how you doing? I was like, I'm all right. He was like, don't let that get to you, man. Keep getting back up. I was like, I will. He was like, you know what not to do next time. And I was like, bet. I drove home in silence with the windows down and tears streaming down my face because I was so humbled by that experience. And I didn't touch a mic for maybe 5 or 6 years after that. I was like, yo, I'm cool. I'm just gonna do this acting thing. And then somebody, it was my birthday one weekend. My boy was like, he brought 2 Heinekens over to me, and he was like, yo, happy birthday. I was like, oh, thanks, man. He was like, oh, these aren't your gifts. These are for you to get ready. Your birthday present, I signed you up for open mic night. And they're about to start. It was a club that turned into a comedy club at midnight.
Okay.
And And so I had to get on stage. I was forced to get on stage and forced to face my fears. Will I be funny? Can I do this? And it was kind of cathartic for me. You know, I sat there and I did it. And I literally laid on the stage after a few minutes of getting laughs because it just felt so good to me. And I was like, yo, I needed this.
Right.
I needed this in order for me to move on. And from that moment, you know, I never looked back as an entertainer, not as a comic, but as an entertainer.
One love to Guy Torry. You and him went on to work on things together.
Yeah.
You know, Life.
Interesting you bring that up and say that because I was going to follow into that. On the set of Life, now over the years, Guy and I had become friends. And on the set of Life, I went to Guy and I was like, hey, man, let me ask you something, Guy. Because Guy used to host the Comedy Act Theater.
Right. Guy is still, as an actor, he's incredible, but in the stand-up space, he's really made such a great name for himself, and he's been famous for helping out other comics.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so I went to him, I was like, hey, Guy, you may not even remember this, man, but I'm gonna tell you how you helped me with something. And I told the story that I just told, and he was like, yo, I remember that.
Right.
He said, I don't remember that being you, but I remember that night. And he was like, yo, I felt sorry for that nigga. You know, and I was like, yeah, that nigga was me.
Right.
You know, and I was like, and I just had to dap him up. And I was like, yo, thank you for those words. And he just quit. He was like, yo, get back up. You know what not to do next time. And that just stayed with me. And I just had to thank him for that. And our friendship has flourished ever since that moment, even before he knew who I was and I knew who he was. To this day, that's my man.
What we done started. Look at what we done started. This the people party. When opportunity knocking, then young nigga move that door. Whoa, get your foot stuck, get it, call me young, go get it. They can't fuck with it, might as well roll with it.